and good morning, Hayley Jepson. How are you, my lovely?
I'm good, Maddie. I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, we're so chipper, aren't
Well, I'm exhausted, really. No, I'm all right.
I'm deeply tired. Um, but when I get to see your lovely face, it just fills us with the joys of spring or whatever season
The
we're in at that
dopamine
time.
is flowing.
It is indeedy. So I'm just like, no messing, right? Let's talk about this. I've got something to talk to you about. I put a post out a while ago and it had such a massive reaction, and it was touching on the perception of the industry and things that, like, in particular, other people have said or implied or not said. Do you see what I'm saying?
About hairdressers and the beauty
Yeah,
industry.
about hair and beauty industry. Um, the perception. Well, I'd love to know what you see this like. What do you see as the like external perception in your experience?
From the negative side,
Yeah.
I think I think things like maybe in the media and stuff like traditionally, like, I think this is quite old schooly, but I think that often we get portrayed as like thick,
Yeah.
bimbos, gossipy, shallow as
Hmm.
a puddle,
Yeah.
ditzy. Do you know that very girly, that
Hmm.
sort of thing?
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
I think like if you ask certain people to describe hairdressers, they might say things like that.
Yeah.
I do wonder if that's a bit more like I think that's a bit old school, but
Yeah.
I do know
It's
that
still
people
around, I
think
think.
that. I've got experience
Yeah.
of people certainly thinking that, but yeah, maybe
When
we'll
I
talk
was
about that a bit.
when I was mobile, so I would interact with people through my page, and I didn't have like a picture. I had like a logo. So when I knocked on people's doors, I mean, God love them, probably thinking, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get like held up," you know. And
Yeah.
so many of them said to me, "Oh, you know what I was expecting," and I would say, "Oh, who were you expecting?" And they were like, "I don't know, just like girly, pink, blonde, like a
Yeah.
little pink tabard, and
Yeah.
they get a
Yeah.
6 foot bloody tattooed, half shaven head tattooed vibe." Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
all of this. What else do you
and that was
think?
just
Like
and that was a
perception.
nice one. Like that was obviously just like a not nice, but it was just like I was expecting visually like this expectation of what I was going to look like, and I found with family or with people like that, it was this idea of like it's not like a real job. You're not going to make any money. Like so many people, even now, when I see them, in my groups or in my coaching, when they're wanting to join the industry or like maybe rejoin the industry, they're sometimes their partners, their sisters, their friends, their family is saying, "Well, don't expect to make any money. Like it's this labor of love, and you'll be exhausted, but you don't see a rich hairdresser," which I
Mm,
disagree with. Like I know that there
yeah,
are
it's not a proper
people doing
job.
well.
I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting. I had an experience where some of my parents' friends, my mum told me
Hmm.
this, were quite snooty about the fact that I was a hairdresser. Like, just judgmental and a bit like, oh, poor Hayley, she's only a hairdresser.
Poor
My
Haley.
mum was like raging.
Was she
And
good?
she said she told them one day what I charged,
Yeah.
and they were baffled.
Yeah.
And they were baffled because it didn't line up with what their perception was, but they were also outraged because they
Yeah.
had their value of what I did was so low.
Yeah.
So they had this thing of just confusion really around what they thought hairdressing was and what it was worth versus what my
Yeah.
mum was telling them
Your
my
like reality.
job was like and my reality was
Yeah.
like, and they couldn't make sense of it. So
Yeah.
they were somewhere between shocked and angry.
How funny! Like
Which,
what a bizarre way to operate. I had a
yeah, just
client.
they're quite snobby about it. They were a bit like,
Yeah.
oh, my daughter's a teacher and yours is just a hairdresser.
Oh.
It was just like,
Like
whatever.
comparing job
Um,
titles, absolute
yeah,
arseholes.
my mum just thought it was funny.
I had Big Linda, shout out.
Yes.
I had a client and I was doing her hair and her daughter's hair, I'm not being judgmental, but she'd taken her daughter out of school to get her hair done, and it was during her GCSEs. But whatever, that's an observation, not a judgment. And I was down the pub for most of my GCSEs actually. Down Wetherspoons, and she literally said to a daughter in front of me while I was doing the hair, "Well, don't worry, love, because if you fail your GCSEs, you'd always be a hairdresser." And I was like, "Well, actually, in for employed jobs for hairdressing, like in a lot of them, you actually do need your GCSEs, or in most jobs now, you need like maths and
You were
English." But
resitting your maths and English, love.
I was like, I'd love to see you, work out in your head a nice big juicy color correction, and yeah, I'd love to see her do that when she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I just bailed out of school." But where
It
do you
is
think this comes
interesting.
from? Like, where
Yeah.
did this originate? Do we know?
I don't think I do know. No, I mean, I'm older than you, and I'm like, oh, let me think. I
Yeah.
can't pinpoint. I don't know, but I just think there's always been a strong message from when I was young that hairdressing, exactly what you're saying, was for people who were not academic.
Yeah.
For some reason,
Yeah.
this became a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I do wonder where that came from. And I wonder if it comes from a time when maybe schools didn't understand neurodiversity as well. And
Oh,
so when
bingo. Yeah.
people were mainly dyslexic, ADHD, autistic, all the things, and maybe struggling at school, and we weren't as aware of how
Mm-hmm.
these things presented, people got put into categories of not academic, and
Mm-hmm.
then they got pushed towards creative jobs like hairdressing. I just wonder
Mm.
if
Yeah.
that's where hairdressers are not smart thing came from. But this has
Mm-hmm.
definitely been a strong thing, that's been talked about a lot since I was young. And my experience was I was told I was too clever to be a hairdresser. I really disappointed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
because I dropped out of college to become a hairdresser. So I was doing my A levels. When
Mm-hmm.
I said I was leaving to become a hairdresser, they were just like, "What are you doing? Like, you
Yeah,
could be
I
going
had
to
the
uni,
exact
you're
same.
smart." And I
Yeah.
was just
Like,
like,
what a
how
waste of a
offensive.
brain.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I was told.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, all of that. And I remember just thinking, I'll show you. I'm going to do it
Yeah.
well.
Oh, I mean, we love a bit of spite. We love a bit of
Yeah,
like
sticking
screw
it to
you
the man,
energy.
all of that
I
stuff.
I had exactly the same because I'd done um like pretty well in school. I didn't do I did GCSEs and nothing else. I didn't do A levels or degree or anything. But I remember applying for an apprenticeship, and
Yeah.
I think I must have just literally finished my GCSEs. I remember I got on the bus to Washington in the northeast, and the lady was lovely. There was me and another person in this room filling in this. It was like a workbook. I guess it was to assess your level of like maths and English.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And she said, just work through this and just put your hand up when you finish. And it was literally like, what time is it on the clock? And it was like 14:05, and there was a picture of some pennies and change, and it was like, what is the change from £5? And obviously, it just took me about 3 minutes. I filled the whole thing in and I put my hand up. And she said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I am finished." And she just said, "This isn't going to be for you. Like, this is like, you're going to feel bored doing this." And it's awful because I wish I'd actually started it then than in my 20s, because I went to do my hairdressing in my 20s as a mature student. And I wish I'd had longer to do that skill and when I was like a younger age. But yeah, just literally told like, no, and they wouldn't let me do an apprenticeship, which is just, yeah, it just was like adamant, like, you'll just drop out because it won't be challenging enough for you. Isn't that
I mean,
wild?
I did my apprenticeship in a year that takes
Yeah,
two, because I was a little
yeah,
bit older, just like a year or
yeah.
two and you just do it faster. Like, what took
That's
2 years, I
that's
did
all
it
it
in
is.
one,
Yeah,
because I was just like,
yeah,
let's just get this done.
yeah.
Why are we having to drag this out? I'll just do it.
It's
And
just
so it's
bizarre.
so crazy, isn't it? And I think
I know.
somewhere in the education system, people got very stuck and focused on a belief
Yeah,
that isn't right, and it affected
yeah,
so many people in lots of different ways.
yeah. And there'll be
I
other
just It's
industries. There'll be like
offensive.
the kids that got into like the trades, and I remember I had a really lovely client who taught in a college, and she said she was like, the kids that are, she would say like the naughty kids, the kids that are sort of disruptive in class, again, potentially neurodiverse kids or whatever, she was like they would all just get pushed to, you need to do a
Trades.
physical or a creative thing. So you need to do like woodwork, plumbing, whatever. And she would go and teach them maths, and she's an incredible teacher and really engaged. I'm like, how do you relate maths to hairdressing? How do you relate maths to, plumbing? But yeah, they just were pushed. And lucky, some of us ended up loving that line of work. But imagine if you wanted to go and do something academic, or you wanted to go and do a degree in something, and you're just
Yeah.
told, it's like the segregation of like, okay, you're this type of kid in class, so this is the
Yeah.
only path for you, or you're not allowed to go down this path because we think you're a little bit more
Yeah.
academic.
I'd really be interested to hear from anyone if of a more recent experience.
Yeah,
Like
because this is going back.
because mine was in the early 90s when this was happening, when I was told I was too smart for it and all of that. And when would yours have been, in the noughties?
Yeah, like
Late
2005, 2006, something like that. But I saw, I mean, I love I love a kick-off on the internet, which, I'm trying to do a bit less of. And there was a big, I'll not name names, but I think it was on LinkedIn, there was a big, big sort of chain that does salon education. And it was GCSE results week, and they put, or A-level results week, they put a post out saying, failed your exams? Well, there's always hairdressing. And I just like lost my shit. They're like massive. And I like screenshot, and I was like, if this is what pisses me off, is like, it's one thing people outside the industry, that's hard enough. I remember in the lockdown when they were laughing about like, oh, we can't get our hair cut because the salons are closed, and it was all a big punchline and all a big joke. But when it's people in the industry, like, propagate, is that the word? Like, pushing this notion of, this isn't
I don't even know what
if
to
you
say
failed,
about that, Maddie.
it was
so
hideous. They took it down. They did take it down. I think it might have been like a social media manager or whatever, or maybe got blamed on such. But it just made me mad. Have you ever had this as well? These are the messages that I got the most of. Have you ever been not introduced as a hairdresser? Like, someone skirted around, like, this is what Hayley does?
Yeah, I've noticed that people, don't really want to say I'm a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Or in the time when I did therapy and hairdressing, people would describe me as a therapist. Or say she's a hairdresser, but she's not that sort of hairdresser.
Yes, or it would be like, Maddie's a salon owner, even though I was like, I would just call I don't think that was the biggest part of my job, was that I did hair. Maddie owns a small business. And I'm like, yeah, it's hairdressing. And there was lots of this, in particular from mother-in-laws. I hate to say it, but there was a lot of that where, this lovely, let's say, lady's got in, met the other half's fam, and they don't want to introduce to their friends.
Yeah, they don't want people to think bad of you as well, maybe. It's just like,
it's like,
it's so strange. It is fascinating. I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of it, but I would really like to know, where did this start? Why did it? I do think it's tied up in an education problem, for sure. And I think what's really come to light recently of how people perceive us is, if you take a little look at TikTok, things people say about hair, like, hairdressers are there posting their work, saying how much it costs, whatever. Get into them comments, and the things people say about hairdressers, it is so shocking to me. I mean, I stay off TikTok. I can't really cope with it. But I saw a bit of this and I thought, I can't bear it. But it's just like, who do you think you are? You're not a doctor.
You're only a hairdresser.
Yeah,
they're obsessed.
How dare you they are obsessed with comparing us to doctors. How dare you charge these prices? And people just saying such terrible things about us as hairdressers. And I just think,
gross, isn't it?
How are we going to turn around this perception? Like, what are we going to do about this?
I
because
know.
I think we really do need to do something about it because,
Yeah.
my reality of hairdressing and this reality where people are thick and bimbos, it doesn't match up. That's
No,
just
it's
not
not my
really been my
experience.
experience of hairdressing at all.
No, and I often get people saying to me, oh, I'm shit at numbers, and I'm like, you're a hairdresser, and I'm like, you physically can't be bad at numbers fully because you mix in ratios, you work in timings, you have to know the color wheel and um like colors that neutralize each other, like you work in tension, elevation, like all of these are going through your head in
45 degrees and all of
exactly like
that.
all of this, and yet you go and, oh, I'm shit at maths because a teacher probably like 20 years ago said you've flunked algebra or like statistical analysis
Yeah,
or like some other stuff that's like
and you weren't shown how to relate it to the real world.
yeah. So no, can we please stop saying that? But I think the very like the present reality, because we're kind of talking about where it came from but where it is now, it's obviously a really big challenge for a lot of salon owners and employers about getting new talent in. So we're seeing a massive struggle with like new um apprentices, like a
Hmm.
skill shortage, right?
Yeah.
And we did a little deep dive and we had a little look for NHBF stats. So they bring stats out every single year. And I think one of the things we need to do to solve the skills shortage crisis is to make it an attractive prospect to young people, right? So
Yeah.
these stats
We
said
need a
that
rebrand, don't we?
we need a madman
We need a
style
spin
glow up.
person.
Yeah, I'll do the PR
We need a glow
for
up.
hairdresser. Yeah. So the stats said that 16 to 24-year-olds working in the sector has fallen 36% between 2019 and 2022, which is
Hmm.
enormous, more than a third.
Hmm.
The number of apprenticeships continues to decline. That was in the year 22-23.
So
We're seeing
even
people,
after the pandemic, because you can see
yeah,
that
it's
like
not
some of that's
bounced back.
pandemic, and you think, but then
Yeah.
after the pandemic, that's not picking up again; it's going down. Yeah.
Yeah, and it said as well in there about like Barbarin seems to have bounced back, but I do think Barbarin's had some very good PR, and Barbarin is cool and it's a
Rock
bit
and
rock and
roll.
roll. When you go to the trade shows and you see all the
Yeah, who's
barbers
doing their
walking
PR?
past and hi, can
Let's
we
hire
borrow you
them.
please? Yeah. But yeah, I think, I try and look at things from all sides. And when people are saying, oh, why does no one want to join the industry? I'm like, well, because, I've got a niece, she's like in her early 20s, but I remember when she was making a decision of what to do, like what GCSEs and A levels and stuff. And she's got on to become an engineer. She's an engineering apprentice now, but she gets paid full whack wage for her age. She's like in her early 20s, but she knows when I qualify, I'll make this much, and then this many years later, I'll make this. And she's got this like map out
Ah,
where she's like, I can suck up kind of
yes.
shitty pay because eventually I'm going to do this. It'll allow me a skill to travel around the world. I could
Yeah.
move to Australia, whatever. I can totally see why you might then go, okay, well, let's compare it against like a vocational subject or hairdresser and beauty. Okay, let's look at some people in that industry. How are they doing in their 30s and 40s and 50s? And just seeing people who are like overwhelmed. The people who all need you, they're burnt out, they're overwhelmed. The people who need me, they're not charging enough. Haven't
Got
taken a
bad
holiday in
backs.
years, bad backs, they're having surgery, the carpal tunnel, like physically knackered, emotionally drained,
Yeah.
financially not in a good place. Like, I kind of get why it's not a very aspirational industry. And yet
Mm,
there are people living their absolute dreams who are traveling, speaking on stages, working with brands,
yeah.
but
It's funny
it's not
because
across the board.
it can be very aspirational when you're in it. Like I can see
Yeah,
loads of aspirational things, um, but you can see how if you're not in it, you're not
yeah.
going to see those things and
Well,
those
they're in the trade
people.
shows, they're in the magazines,
They're in
they're
the
in
trade
the
shows.
yeah, they're on the
Yeah.
podcasts. Like they're almost behind the curtain when really they need to be
That's
like public knowledge.
yes. That's
Mm,
so interesting, isn't it?
hmm
I think for me, I always think about this. I always, when anyone's having a moan up about the industry, I'm doing
The
air quotes for
industry.
listening, the industry,
Yeah.
the industry this, the industry that. I always say this to people. I think we need to remember that we are the industry. Every single
Mhm.
one of us is the industry. And so if you're
Yeah.
ever moaning about the industry needs to change and do this, I think you've always got to start with yourself. That's, I'm
Amen.
always like, clean up your side of the street first,
Yes.
be the change you want to see in the world,
Yes.
all of that
Preach.
sort of thing. But I always like to think I am the industry, so let's do my bit. And so I think let's have a conversation about what can we do as individual hairdressers and beauty people to personally raise the perception.
Yeah.
And so instead of sitting here and being like, oh, the education needs to change, the industry needs to change, like on a really
Mhm.
individual level, what can we be doing? And
Mhm.
so I'm going to go first. I
Yeah.
think we could do stuff like stop saying stuff like we're not any good at numbers and tech,
Mhm. Yeah.
because start talking like, for me, I failed my maths GCSE. I don't think I failed it, but I got a very low grade. You know what I mean? I'm like A's for English, F's for maths sort of person,
Yeah.
and I didn't do
I
great
was
in
the opposite.
maths. This
Yeah.
is why we're good together, Maddie. But
Yeah.
like, I didn't do great in maths, and really, I just thought it was boring. I just was so, I
Mm.
thought it was tedious. I didn't try.
Mhm.
It wasn't interesting to me. However, I was a colour technician. I did work in fractions, and so I think if I was going to because I could easily say I'm not good at maths, I'm not good
Mhm.
with numbers, but I think I say this: if I need to learn it, I do. I can.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I got good with fractions and ratios and all of that stuff. And I think sometimes without thinking, we say stuff like, I'm no good with numbers, I'm no good with
Mm.
tech, I'm just a hairdresser, I can't do maths. And I think we've got to watch stuff like that,
Yeah. Definitely. And
Yeah.
just, I want to just take a little segue, because when you said that we are the industry taking care of our side of the street, I would like to just pat us or each other on the back, because this is our whole mission, really, isn't it? Like, for us to go, we are the industry, and
Yeah.
also we want to lift up the industry. So we do it in many ways.
Yeah.
With, obviously, you help people to have loads of balance and like better mental health, avoid burnout, help people get the prices right, grow the business. So that's what we're talking about. You don't have to go off and do education or anything like that, but like, we take our responsibility, I think, really seriously, of like, rather than pointing
Yeah.
at it and going, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, both of us have said,
Yeah.
okay,
Being
well,
the
let's us,
critic.
yeah, like doing the thing required and helping people with that. So I just thought, let's just congratulate
Yeah.
ourselves.
Nice one, Maddie. Are we good?
For a
But
side
I
note.
think I'm always looking for practical solutions. I don't want to just sit around and moan and observe. I find that
What's
really
the
annoying.
point? Yeah, I hate that.
Like, I
Yeah.
think you've got to be involved to change things. I don't like people who moan from the sidelines. I find
And
that
there
really
there
annoying.
is a lot of that as well. There really is, and it's like, okay, I can listen to that, and I can hold the frustrations, but what next? Like, what's the next thing that we're going to do?
Yeah. And I think that
Yeah.
individually as hairdressers, it's essentially this, like, start thinking about how you're portraying our industry
Yeah.
every day.
What are you doing? Yeah, like,
What
are
do you say
you
about it?
are you paying
Yeah,
yourself
all of
well?
that.
Are you um both as a freelancer, as a salon owner, are you being the last person to get paid? Are you creating a business that you would aspire to have? Because if you're not, then you can't expect someone that you are entering into your business or the next generation to go, oh, that looks like a great place to be. So make it a great place for you, especially the numbers and lifestyle and balance and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say this, like, to salon owners, you want to be the sort of salon owner that when your team look and think, I want to be a salon owner just
Yeah.
like Sarah, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, something's wrong otherwise, isn't it? Like, something's
Yeah.
off, like either you're not into it anymore, your business model's not right, all that sort of stuff. But it's a bit like we've got to do our best, haven't we,
Yeah.
in all that
Yeah. It
stuff.
can be a bit like
I
the
think,
the martyr, as we say sometimes. Like, I think people could be like, oh, I don't want to look like I'm doing well. I want to look like I'm having an
yeah,
awful time, or just for some reason actually have an awful time. But no, you're
Yeah,
allowed
so
to
people
have a
don't
good
moan
time
about the
and show
money.
people. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, people feel like if I'm doing well, people will want more money. They'll want me to stop charging as more, all
Yeah,
the sorts of things like that, isn't
yeah,
it? I think one thing we can do to really raise the perception of hairdressing is to have really good boundaries, because
mm,
boundaries promotes professionalism and it
mm-hmm,
invites respect. And so when we have good boundaries for our business and ourselves, I think this does just elevate the industry. We're not doing
yeah,
favors for people.
yeah.
It's a business, and I think the better boundaries we have, and the better we enforce them, um, it's just better, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
better in
no,
it for
it is.
loads of reasons. But the
Yeah.
perception of someone with boundaries is better. You will invite more respect. That's just so. I
And
think that
I would
across
love
the
to
board we could
see,
do that.
definitely, and I'd love to see that like normalized taking deposits and booking fees, normalize having booking systems that protect our time, like normalize, like you say, making yourself Mariah Carey, that you're not contactable 24/7 on
Yeah,
your holidays and whatever else.
yeah. It's things like this, though, Maddie, isn't it? Like if your dentist charged you because you didn't turn up, you'd think, oh
Hmm.
well, that's how it goes. But
Yeah,
people are outraged when hairdressers do it. I've
it's
had some
well
of my
again,
friends say
yeah,
to me, I
yeah,
couldn't believe it.
yeah.
It's only hair, and I was like, what now? Careful. But I just think something's happening, isn't it, where dentists have just got better PR than
Yeah,
us. But the dentists can do that, and everyone goes, "Yep, yep, I totally get that. I messed up."
yeah.
But with hairdressing, it's like we're supposed to take that on the chin, not you, not
Well,
the client, for their
it's like you
mistake.
say, it's a respect thing. Like I think respect
Yeah,
is mirrored. So I think the more you respect yourself, the more people respect you. When I had no
yeah,
self-respect in my business, i.e. would work any hours, would charge, give
hmm
discounts willy-nilly, I would
hmm
travel. I had no like cap on the distance I would travel when I worked
yeah,
mobile. I was just whatever, like a yes person. And I was the most disrespected by my clients at the time. And the
yeah,
more I respect myself, and I have a very high level now of self-respect in life and business, but I work with incredibly respectful people. So it's like a positive
yeah,
upswing, isn't it?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
like you say as well, it's a putting yourself down, being so mindful of your self-talk. And I will just pull everyone up the minute they say, I'm just a little business, it's just little old me. I'm like, it's not. The fact that you have like jacked in a 9 to 5 or taken a risk on yourself or learned this skill,
yeah,
it is not little, even if it is just you. So just being mindful of like how
yeah.
you refer to yourself as well.
Yeah, be careful with that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And it's the dumbing down of ourselves and our skills.
Mm-hmm.
This,
Yeah.
I see it so often, like, I'm just a hairdresser, I just do this, and making out that it's easy. And
Mm-hmm.
I just think, and dumbing down, we have some amazing skills as hairdressers, even just our people skills and stuff. But I
Yeah.
think as I see, and I've definitely done it. And sometimes we dumb ourselves down to make people feel comfortable. I've done that in
Yeah,
lots of
that's
different
it.
ways in my
Yeah.
life. The self-deprecating humor and all of that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And I think sometimes we get into that to make people feel comfortable in our chairs and what have you, and
Mm.
people in the family and all of that carry on. But I think let's stop dumbing down what we do and saying it's easy,
Yeah, because it's
and all
not.
of
It's
that.
truly isn't.
Yeah.
It might just be easy for
No.
you, for us, because you've done it so many times. But especially the lockdown showed us when everyone tried to do their own hair at home and do their own nails, that they were like, there was like a moment where we had this newfound respect because people were like, "Oh my god, it's really hard,"
Yeah.
and you're like, "Yeah, just it
Yeah.
looks easy because I can do it with my eyes shut."
Yeah.
Um, I
All of
think as
that.
well, kind of on the back of what we're saying about the good things being a little bit hidden, highlight the community, elevate each other, collaborate. So, we talked about this before, like collaboration over competition. But if someone else is doing something cool in your industry, don't just privately DM them, share it, like put it on your personal Facebook, be like, oh my God,
Mm,
this is such a great thing about my industry. Like, get that word
yes.
out as far as we can about just how
Yeah.
amazing
Because
this industry is.
it's all inside. And I think so. One of the first things we've got to do is you've got to get it outside. Like when you're in the
Yeah.
industry, you can see what's amazing about it. But from the outside, I feel like people are not seeing it. And so,
We need a
yeah,
PR
we've got to
machine,
start.
push it out.
I know someone needs to take this on. I think as well, I started a live last year called Highlighting the Joy in the Hair Industry because I basically wanted to do that. I wanted
Mm,
to start celebrating because I talk a lot about what's hard about the industry, and I wanted to start talking about what was brilliant about it and what brings us joy every day because there's some of like we do moan about hairdressing sometimes, but we're still doing it 30 years later. So what's
mm,
keeping us there? And it's the joy, the joyful
yeah.
side. And so I invite hairdressers to tell me 3 things that brings them joy in
Oh, I
their little
love that.
corner of the industry. And so that was one thing I wanted to do to start celebrating the good.
Hmm.
And so I think we need to start focusing on what's brilliant about it and really, it is easier to talk about moaning, isn't it? Like
Hmm.
people bond
Oh,
over
yeah.
moaning,
Yeah, yeah.
but for sure. But I think if we could just try and give equal weight to what's good,
Yeah.
that would really make a difference.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Um, and what treatment are you giving yourself? So, in particular, like, what is this signaling to people who are considering following in this path? And that person might be your kids or your nieces and nephews, or
Your
you
next
know,
door neighbour's kid.
next on it. Yeah, it could be just anyone watching. How are you treating yourself, and what does that impact on that person's like perception of the industry as well? And you're putting a Facebook
Yeah.
status on being like, oh my god, I've had 5 cancellations, and you don't there's a bloody copy and paste that absolutely does me nuttering when I see it, and it's like the hard truth about owning a business, and it's like all of this stuff, and I read it going,
I can't bear
all
it.
of this is all of this is in your control. Like, charge a
Yeah.
deposit, set your time, set an automation, have a chat for but when you're sharing that, and I know it, I totally appreciate it comes from a place of like frustration. You had a shit week, you want to vent, but remember that again, this impacts how people are seeing the industry.
Us.
This kind of knocks down that perception as well.
Yeah, I just think it's this, isn't it? Be really thoughtful about how you speak about the hair and beauty industry around young people. I
Hmm.
mean, I think around everybody really, but like start
Yeah,
watching what we're saying out, and think, am I adding to the perception
yeah,
that this industry is for people who aren't smart and we don't earn any money when we know
hmm,
that's not true? We absolutely know
yeah,
that's not true. And so I think
yeah,
we need to start being very mindful about how we're talking about it in general so we can change the
yeah,
perception, but especially around young people
hmm,
because we
yeah,
need some young people coming into the industry. And so
yeah.
we've got to start talking to them about what's good about it for
Yeah, and
sure.
sharing those
Yeah.
celebrations, like not being humble. Yes, you might want to
Hmm.
automatically share when things are not going great, but when you've had an amazing week, when when your team have pulled it out the bag, when you've done a phenomenal transformation, when you've really helped your client,
Yeah.
like talk about that stuff as well. Don't just go, oh well,
Yeah.
I need to keep that quiet. I can only
Yeah.
share the bad stuff. Like share the good as
I
well.
do think there's a real culture of people not wanting to sort of show off
Mm-hmm.
around the business element in
Yeah.
hairdressing. And
Oh
show
yeah.
off is the word I use the word show off because that's how I
That's
think
what they
people
would.
think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
not ringing bells. Like you
Yeah.
see on that. I mean, I'm thinking about selling Sunset here, but
Yeah.
they're ringing bells when they make sales and hit targets. Like there's also it's like there's something shameful around money in our
Yeah.
industry,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I
yeah,
think that's a
totally.
perception that's got to change, hasn't it?
Well, yeah,
People
and
have,
I
and
know
I
this to be true because I get them all in the DMs, and then no one mentions it even
yes,
in a private group because they're like, "Oh, I don't want to be a dick. Like other people are having a hard
yeah, I
time."
don't want to
And
make other people feel bad and all of that stuff. But
yeah,
I think we've got to start showing what's possible to the
hmm,
young people coming into the industry.
yeah,
Like you said with your niece, was it the
yeah,
engineer? The
hmm,
career path was laid out on what was possible. But are
yeah,
we doing that for the young people?
yeah. Like if we can show people that like you could retire at 55, you could have you could invest in property or what whatever, or you can do
Mm,
I've got I would love to get her on the podcast, a friend called Emma Hellier who's homeschooled her kids, moved all around the Far East with her husband. They build websites. She still runs a salon in England, and I'm like, everyone should know about you because you are so
yeah,
aspirational and inspirational to people have quite a limited view of what is available to you as, as a hairdresser or a beauty therapist. So
Mhm.
yeah, like those people who are doing things differently or doing things in a way that is really like exciting, we do need to, like, they should be platformed, they should be given space to speak. Like we should be asking them, like, how did you do this, how is this possible? And when people message me with like this is what's going well, that's why I always screenshot it and share it, like obviously with their permission or anonymized, because I want to show people what is available to them. Or I'll say, can
Mm.
you please go and post this into the group? Don't just send this to me. Like, I know this happens.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me about this, but please show
Yeah.
the people, because they need to have examples of this.
Exactly that. And I think let's do a final thought, Maddie.
Oh
We've
yeah,
not done
Jerry.
a Jerry for a long time, and my final thought is exactly that. I used to say when I worked in the college with the kids, when I was a therapist for the kids, I used to say, if you can't see it, you can't be it.
Yeah,
As a
so
young
much harder.
person, you don't know what's possible until that you can see it in front of you. We don't know every job in the world, and we don't know how everything looks. You've got to be able to see someone doing it to think, I want to do that. And so I think we need to start showing young people in this country what is possible with hairdressing, and
Yeah,
we just got to change the perception and the way that it's perceived completely to get more people in. But
yeah,
we've got to start bringing outside of the industry what we know is inside of it, isn't it? And
yeah,
so yeah, if they can see it, they can be it. And so we've got to start showing them what they can be in our
yeah.
industry, I think.
Yeah, even
But
if it feels a
but
bit
I mean
edgy and yeah,
on an
like you're showing
individual
off.
level,
Yeah.
I'm not pushing that back out to the in air quotes industry. I
Hmm.
mean on a really personal individual level,
Yeah.
start showing people what's possible.
Yeah.
What about you?
I love
What's
that.
your final thought, Maddie?
Final thought, like I know for a fact there are people doing like phenomenally well in the industry, whether that's people like my friend Emma, who gets to travel and has this immense level of like freedom while also still running the business in the UK. Like she's got this amazing balance. There are people doing financially incredibly well. I know this because I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of them, and they feel like they can't share their wins because we have normalized the struggle. So we've kind of
Mm,
accepted that it is hard to be in business. It's I see people speaking in these blanket statements like it's hard out there right now, as if it is for
yeah,
every single person, every single way, or that's like our identity as a business owner or a person in this industry. I think we need to create this space to celebrate wins without jealousy. So instead of saying, "Oh, is it shit for everyone else? Let's all decide that it is." We can go, "Okay, yes, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z, but is anyone not? How did you do that?"
how are you doing
Can
that?
like
Yeah, what
yeah,
can
and I
I
always
learn
say
from
this.
you?
Yeah, like stop asking people if they're. Oh, it
Who's
stopped
quiet? You
recording.
say that, don't you?
1 second. It stopped recording mine. Browser not allowing to record. Sorry, Lily. Join the studio from a different browser. Oh my god, please. It's not
What?
uploaded.
Mine's
It's
recording still.
mine looks like it is. Right, okay, we'll just go back to this.
You
Da, da,
just
da, da,
do
da.
your final. Which we go?
I'll just do
Shall
the I'll
I
just
just
do
say
the
what's your final thought, Maddie? Because I said that.
I, it's okay, I'll do it from that bit and then
All
it's
right, go on.
fine. Okay. So I'd do a post that, makes some people not feel not feel particularly great. And I'll say, instead of asking people if they're quiet, ask the busy people how they're busy. Like you will honestly do so much better. You will get unstuck quicker if
Yeah,
instead of just reaffirming the bad situation that you're in or the struggle that you're in, you go, okay, I can get out of this. I know there are people who are out of this. How do I find those and ask those people for help? We need to let people celebrate without being not without being jealous. You're allowed to be jealous, but without knocking them down so they don't feel like they can celebrate next time. We need to like
yeah.
have space for people who are doing well even when we're not particularly doing that well.
Mm-hmm.
um and just lifting each other up and amplifying that message. And if you've seen a colleague doing well, go in and next time you're having family dinner, be like, oh my god, my friend just won this award and this. I talk about you speaking on stages and like my friends who've published books. And yeah, we need to like amplify that message and get that out to more people.
Yeah, because it's a bit like it, we need
Oh, Haley,
everyone
it
to have a
stopped
different.
recording. Shit. Right, let's Just press record and see if it works. The recording is already in progress. It looks like you can only record in one studio at a time. But it says record. It says start recording. Oh my god. Let's just go into view recordings. I can't deal if it's not recorded right at the end. It says when I go into the studio bit, it has the recording, the red.
Mine's just on red. It says record and it says 99% uploading. Mine's happy.
I don't know why it says start recording though. I have the red button at the bottom where I press it and it says it's not recording. The recording is already in progress. Right, let's just run it till the end and then just see what it's doing. But sorry, sorry, Lily.
Shall I just say,
yeah,
let's do a hide focus, or you do it? Shall I do it?
You do it.
Did we end that section properly?
Yeah, because I ended it and then I panicked afterwards. So yeah, I have ended it. Yeah.
All right then. So let's do some hyper focuses then, Maddie, this week. You go. Yeah. Let's hear yours.
So I hate to say this because it was such a big part of my personal brand and I still get sent everything about this, but I haven't. I know it's so controversial.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
You know what it's going. I haven't worn my Crocs in ages, and I'll tell you why.
Sponsorship deal.
My sponsor, my one pair that Crocs very kindly sent me. Well, basically, I can't remember how it started, but I know that I had my colour analysis done, and then I had like 14 pairs of Crocs. One of them is the right colour.
Oh yeah, you had a lot of pink and yellow, didn't you?
I had lots of like jazzy pinks and lilacs and stuff. And I just got into trainers, and I don't know if it was starting the gym, maybe that was a bit of a thing, and then going on walking a lot, and I thought, oh, I'll get some, I got some like Hawkers and New Balances and stuff. So I do still have all my Crocs, but I haven't worn them, so I'm really sorry to Crocs and the Croc Nation out there, as they call themselves. But I'll tell you what I've just got. Well, Aidan got me, which was very kind. Birkenstocks. And the ones in particular, I did have the sandally ones with strap over the top. But what I mean is the ones where they're like covered over the toe. So they're a bit like a Croc.
Like a bit like a slippery mule type scenario.
They're lovely, yeah. And I think they're fancier. And
they got fur in?
They don't have fur in, so they're quite good for like all weather types. And you can wear them with a sock. All the gorgeous LA people were doing that. And I think if it's good enough for them, I can wear some socks with me. Socks and stocks, we might call that. Yeah. So that's nice. So
I used to wear Birkenstocks a lot. They had a big phase in the late 90s, early 90s. They were big in the hairdressing world. I had gold ones, silver ones. They used to have studs on, everything. I find classic Birkies a bit flat. Yeah. Like I need a bit more of a thicker sole. I just find it more comfy for me back. But Birkenstocks have really raised their game recently, and I've started seeing a few and thinking, I like them. But I can't cope with things that are too flat, and so classics are a bit flat. But they have done some good stuff recently. Have you seen the ones that are a bit like pillows? I don't know how to describe it any better than that.
Oh, like where the straps are like puffy. Yeah. They look good.
Yeah.
I like the look
of them. I quite like the look of those.
Yeah. What's yours? What have you been focusing on?
I'm going seeing Adele soon in Munich. I am beside myself about this. I love Adele so much. And so I'm very fixated on all things Munich. You can't find anything about Adele if you try. She's so private. Taylor Swift, I'm Googling, when did she meet? I can't remember his name now. Her friend, what's he called?
Travis Kelce.
Travis. You can't Google Adele. Nothing comes up. She's just like got that shit locked down. You can't find pictures of her partner, her wedding, her kid, nothing. So I'm not doing that, but I'm obsessed with Munich because I need to know, what am I going to do in Munich for a couple of days? I get there just before the concert. I'm going to watch Adele, and then I've got a couple of days. So I'm deep diving Munich at the minute, but I'm not doing very well at finding a lot to do. I think I'm going to have to put something on my stories.
That always works well. Yeah, I've always got some really good recommendations.
Yeah, let's
doing
get
it that
some
way.
recommendations. There's a lot of beer and beer gardens and all that sort of thing, and it'll be August, so that'd be great. You know, it'd be really hot and nice and stuff, and so they'll have a lot of pop-up stuff apparently down the river. I found this kind of all-day vintage market, but it looks like it has bands on and food, and you know, it looks like where people go on a Sunday type thing.
Yeah.
My hope for Munich is that there's a big LGBTQ area in Munich, and I'm hoping to see lots of Adele drag queens. That's my hope, is that they'll go Adele mental, and I might find some drag shows where everyone's Adele. That's what I'm looking for.
I can't wait to hear about it. I just think she's amazing.
Lovely and funny and brilliant and melancholy.
Yeah.
I love melancholy music, you know, from Smith to Adele. So I'm in Munich mode. It's coming very soon, and so I'm very excited. So
very exciting.
Yeah. So you know, we're making lists and Instagram saved posts about Munich and stuff. So
if anyone has any Munich recommendations,
I feel like by the time you listen to it, though, I might have been. It's very soon.
Okay. Maybe don't.
But I'm going to put it on my stories.
Yeah. I think
yes, that's it.
Okay. Well, enjoy, my love, and I will see you
next week, my dear.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments.
Please support those who support us, and check out Timely, who we recommend as our favourite booking system for you. New customers can get 50% off their first 3 months with the code COFFEE50.